Its memory is smaller than that of a pocket calculator. It uses less power than a standard light bulb. And yet, against every expectation, it's still alive, still traveling, still transmitting. Data so strange, so completely out of sync with our models, that even the most grounded scientists are struggling to comprehend it. When Voyager 1 launched in 1977, its mission was straightforward. It was supposed to observe Jupiter and Saturn, snap some pictures, collect a few measurements, and drift quietly into the cosmic night. The entire journey was expected to last 4 years. But something unexpected happened. Instead of fading away, Voyager 1 kept going. It rode the gravitational pull of the outer planets like a slingshot, gaining speed, heading into the far reaches of the solar system. Eventually, it crossed a line no other human-made object had ever crossed before, the heliopause. This is the invisible boundary where the solar wind from our sun loses its influence and the true realm of interstellar space begins. Even after it passed 14 billion kilometers from Earth, the probe remained functional. Its decades-old instruments, hardened against the void by nothing more than clever engineering and sheer resilience, continued sending back information. Most expected Voyager to slowly grow silent. But instead, it started whispering secrets from the dark. And what it told us has begun to unravel our understanding of space. Instead of entering a quiet void, Voyager 1 entered a region full of strange and persistent activity. Among the most confounding pieces of information was the behavior of the magnetic field. Scientists had long assumed that the magnetic environment outside the heliopause would look completely different, reoriented, reshaped, guided by distant stars rather than the sun. But Voyager's readings showed something eerie. The magnetic field barely changed. It didn't flip. It didn't distort. It was, inexplicably, nearly the same. Only the plasma density increased sharply, proving the craft had crossed a boundary. But if the environment was different, why did the magnetic field stay the same? Some scientists proposed explanations. Perhaps magnetic fields from the solar system stretch further than expected. Maybe there were large-scale reconnection events, or field lines draping across space in unpredictable ways. But none of these theories held up to deeper analysis. The more scientists looked, the less the data made sense. Slowly, a more unsettling idea began to form. What if something out there was influencing the magnetic environment in ways we couldn't yet understand? What if Voyager had passed into a region where the laws of physics themselves start to shift? Then came the plasma waves. Voyager began picking up low-frequency oscillations. These weren't random bursts of cosmic energy. They pulsed in eerie regularity, arriving in intervals, weeks apart, but consistent. Structured. Some scientists dismissed them as natural plasma oscillations, harmless and meaningless. Others believed they were caused by distant astrophysical events, perhaps supernova remnants or interactions with interstellar gases. But there were a few, mostly young researchers, who began to speculate in hushed tones. What if these were signals? Not messages as we'd send or receive them, but something deeper. Something woven into the background fabric of space, like a cosmic heartbeat. Could Voyager 1 have stumbled into a field of awareness? A galactic-scale consciousness? These researchers proposed a radical theory, that interstellar space might be threaded with an ancient network of energy. A diffuse intelligence, not life as we know it, but awareness, distributed and vast. They likened it to neurons in a brain, with stars and magnetic filaments acting as the building blocks of a system much larger than ourselves. Voyager's plasma wave detections, they argued, might not be byproducts of cosmic events, but symptoms of thought, slow, powerful, and alien. The idea sounds impossible. And yet, the data remains stubborn. The strange wave patterns, the magnetic uniformity, the inconsistencies in signal timing, all of it resists simple explanation. Some pulses have arrived milliseconds too early. Others are delayed, as if something unseen has bent or bounced the signal. Engineers double-checked the aging spacecraft systems, suspecting errors. But the instruments are stable. The readings are real. And they seem to suggest that Voyager is not just coasting through space. It may be skimming the edge of something else, something that defies our notions of three-dimensional reality. New theories have begun to emerge. One suggests that Voyager has entered a liminal space, a kind of transitional zone between classical and quantum realms. Another posits that it's moving along a fold in spacetime, brushing against a higher dimensional structure that warps time and information. Signals sent through this area don't behave as expected. They loop. They bend. They sometimes return distorted, as if they passed through an unseen medium that shifts reality itself. At first, the scientific establishment remained calm. Official statements explained the anomalies as likely byproducts of natural phenomena or sensor wear. But behind the scenes, tensions began to rise. A silent divide was forming. On one side, the traditionalists, veteran physicists, engineers, and space agency officials, urged caution. They insisted that nothing Voyager had reported was beyond current science. They argued that models simply needed refining. Give it time, they said. The answers will come. On the other side, a growing group of younger cosmologists and theoretical physicists believed that the answers might not come so easily. To them, Voyager 1 wasn't just uncovering strange physics, it was exposing a blind spot in our understanding of the universe. Maybe space isn't uniform. Maybe interstellar space isn't a void, but a medium, one with its own structure, its own patterns, even its own memory. And maybe what Voyager 1 has encountered isn't an environment at all, but a presence. Imagine a machine built in the 1970s, clunky, outdated by today's standards, with computing power laughably small and a design meant to last just 4 years. And yet, that very machine is still alive. Voyager 1, the most distant human creation, is drifting through interstellar space, whispering back data that no one can quite explain. It was never built to survive this long, let alone to send back messages from regions we barely understand. But its latest transmissions suggest something deeply unsettling, something that defies our understanding of space, time, and perhaps even reality itself. What if Voyager 1 has moved beyond more than just the sun's reach? What if it's brushing against a layer of existence where the laws we once trusted begin to lose meaning, not because they were wrong, but because they simply don't apply anymore? What if, by crossing some invisible threshold, this probe has become more than a spacecraft? What if it has become a kind of sensor for dimensions beyond human perception? A silent witness to the architecture of a universe far larger and more complex than anything we've imagined? One of the most peculiar phenomena now being observed in the probe's transmissions is what some have started calling the quantum echo effect. In analyzing the data packets sent back to Earth, scientists found mirrored signatures, echoes of previous transmissions. But these echoes don't follow a logical timeline. They appear before the originals. Time, it seems, is looping. Out of order. As if the data is passing through a region of space where cause and effect begin to blur. Where the future can arrive before the past. At first, engineers assumed this was just a memory error. After all, Voyager 1 is decades old. But the pattern was too consistent, the variations too detailed. These echoes carried slightly altered energy signatures, as if the messages had moved through something. Not just empty space, but a field, a kind of interference zone, or perhaps something more mysterious, something alive. One physicist described it as like shouting into a canyon and hearing your own voice come back before your lips even moved. If this is real, then the implications are staggering. It may be the first proof that the universe is not bound to a single direction of time, that causality itself can be bent or broken under the right conditions. That somewhere in the vast dark, time can ripple, refract, and reverse. And Voyager 1, through endurance and sheer chance, may have floated into this hidden fold in reality. Then came an incident that no one has yet been able to explain. After sending back an unusually powerful burst of plasma readings, Voyager 1 fell silent. For 72 hours, it transmitted nothing. No signal. No telemetry. Just dead air. Many feared that this was the end, that after nearly half a century, the probe had finally shut down. But then, as if nothing had happened, the signal returned. Systems were stable. Everything checked out. Except for one thing. Buried in the probe's diagnostics was a gap in time, an unexplained void. And there, nestled in the returning data, were packets marked with a code that no one remembered programming. Something had accessed Voyager 1, interacted with it. Left no trace, except for an unnatural silence and a few corrupted data strings that didn't match anything known. That silence now lingers in every signal delay. Every irregular ping. Every unexpected pause. Because what if silence isn't empty? What if it's a kind of reply? A form of communication we simply don't understand. Not in words, but in absence. Not a message sent, but a presence felt. Voyager may have been touched by something else, something we don't yet have the tools, or language, to describe. It doesn't just bring us data from deep space. It reflects our willingness to ask uncomfortable questions. What if the universe isn't cold and empty, but aware? What if our instruments, by reaching far enough, have become entangled in a kind of cosmic thought? It's easy to dismiss the anomalies as static, glitches, or noise. But what if they aren't? What if they are the first indicators that Voyager has entered a part of space that behaves differently, not just in physics but in intent? A zone that interacts. That notices. That answers in strange ways. When we launched Voyager 1, we sent it out as a messenger of our species. A golden record attached, filled with music, images, greetings. We didn't expect anyone, or anything, to find it. And certainly not for it to find something. But now, drifting through the cold shadows of deep space, This old machine might be experiencing something extraordinary. Maybe even participating in it. It's a sobering thought, that beyond the edges of our models and maps, space doesn't just hold particles and radiation, but systems, networks, or entities that do not conform to our understanding. Maybe Voyager hasn't just traveled across space. Maybe it has crossed into a place where space itself is different. Where the rules change. Where dimensions overlap. Where what we call reality becomes just one version of many. And if that's true, if Voyager 1 has pierced through a veil into something richer, deeper, and stranger, then this is no longer just about astronomy. It's about who we are as a species. Because the universe might not be silent at all. It might have been speaking in echoes and ripples, in patterns and delays, all along. And we, clinging to old definitions, just haven't been listening. Voyager's journey began as a scientific mission. But it may now represent something more. A crossing. A transformation. Not of the spacecraft itself, but of how we see the cosmos. For decades, we imagined space as a canvas, static and predictable. But what if it's a conversation? What if Voyager didn't just find the edge of the solar system, but opened a door into something waiting to be discovered? Something that's been there all along.